makeup. No, I have not done my hair. I don't give a crap what I look like. I come on here to keep y'all informed. And so y'all have watched me over the last few days try to make sense of what's been going on between Heavy Duty Country and Ryan. Because I've been like, hang on, Heavy Duty Country is spouting a lot of crap. And a lot of it does not make sense to me. A lot of it is not consistent. A lot of it incriminates himself if he knew these things were going on and did not handle them sooner, till now. So I have tried to literally follow this and let you all know how I'm thinking, how I'm processing it from moment one. Because I like for you all to see me work through issues and to try to figure things out and to show you how I process things. And you cannot make this crap up. Hello, I'm blind, but it says Ms. something. I think we talked earlier. But you cannot make this crap up. Someone just came on my video, one of my videos, where I'm telling everybody how this is hitting me, my perspectives, my viewpoints, what I see happening. And she goes, oh my God, this person is so hypocritical. Just getting on here and telling what she thinks is so hypocritical for her to share her views. So biased. This is why the world seems to be coming to an end for many of us older people like me. Because we have to deal with stupidity like that daily. Not only am I now not allowed to be a person, not allowed to talk about my emotions or feelings, now I'm not allowed to tell you my thoughts, because somehow it's hypocritical for me to tell you my thoughts. Whose thoughts am I supposed to tell you? I mean, really, I don't walk around with my head shoved up somebody else's butt. So I don't know who else's thoughts I'm supposed to tell you about. Do you understand why us older people look at you all and go, okay. I'm sorry. I'm really trying to take this seriously. And I have been trying to take this seriously. It's big time beef with me if you go on and say that somebody has done something wrong to a criminal component where you could take them to court. That's like, for me, that's serious crap, because I'm retired law enforcement. I take that crap serious. So I'm like, okay, well, let's get into it. Let's tear this apart. And I've told you all, the more I've looked into what Heavy Duty Country says, the more I'm like, that doesn't make sense to me. People be tripping, I'm telling you. That doesn't make sense to me. That doesn't sound right. That doesn't make sense. You know, like literally Christina Aguilera has been in my head all day. Wah, 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 you know, bobblehead. And I'm just like, it's like I want to call these people and go, hello, I'm your bonus auntie today. I just want to make sure you know how to wipe your butt, front to back, yes. We don't want to make anybody sick down there. And make sure, you know. And it's just like, I think I need to call and tell these people these things. Because they think it's hypocritical of me to tell you my views. I don't know what else is in there or who else's views are in there. But mine are the only one that comes out. Sorry. Like, I want to look at the next generation and go, brave, feisty, they can take on the world. I'm not sure you can do anything. And you can even read in cursive. Oh, Jesus. Okay, but I had valid concerns. And I was trying to allow you all to watch me go through this and sort through this. And I took it very seriously, because when he started talking about, hey, they're doing this, they're stealing this, they're stealing beads, I was like, wait, let's look at this. Something did not feel right to me, though. I've told you that from the get-go. Something did not feel right to me. And I don't mind you all going on this emotional journey with me. And I don't mind at the end of it having to go, ha, well, I was wrong. Because I will. I don't mind. I don't mind you all. I'm role modeling how you should take things apart and logically look at things and question yourself and others. And it's just like, I don't mind you all going on this journey with me, but please don't make fun of the journey if you don't understand that the journey should be something that you incorporate into your daily life. You should be asking yourself these questions. You should be looking at people and going, okay, well, before I react and give them the emotion they want, I'm going to go back and I'm going to go over this again and see where I feel this lands with me. Because I told you from the get-go I'm having red flags from HDC, and then he released that thing today saying that they steal beats. Okay, if the contract is violated, all he has to do is show the contract, and we'll be like, hey, they violated the contract. The boys do something. And fine, I'll say it. But he won't show us the contract. But he wants us to weigh in, but he doesn't want to show us what we need to know to really have a conclusion, but he won't go to court. So it seems to me he just wants to perpetuate this. He's walking air. Yeah, I know a lot of walking airheads. Whew. So when he gave the last video, I was like, okay, he just said Ryan and them steal beats. What? They steal beats? Well, maybe they send him a clip of a beat going, do you like this direction, or this direction? Which one sounds more like a direction you would like to go? And then we can start working on our own. That made sense to me. And because he said they steal the beats. So I was thinking, well, they didn't purchase them then, so maybe they're just showing him directions that they could go with these beats. Because I was trying to take him at face value, right? Because that's what everybody's saying. Just take him at face value, what he's saying. Well, then Ryan pops on and was like, dude, we buy beats from independent artists all the time. We incorporate them all the time. Of course, we send you beats done by other people. And I'm like, well, I know that people sell them, you know, and that's fine. You're keeping independent artists in business. So I have no problem with you buying beats, pre-made beats, or buying pre-made beats and amping them up. I don't care, as long as you do it legally. Well, it turns out everything was done legally. They purchased these beats, and then they can do whatever the heck they want to with them. But HTC purposefully came on the internet and implanted the thought that they're stealing these beats, when obviously they're not. So why would he do that? The same reason he tried to tell you that Ryan supports child molestation. That can't be proven. Because Boozy may have said something, but he was under investigation by the cops for other separate issues and had just gotten off parole. He's on law enforcement's radar. He will never be off law enforcement's radar, just FYI. Hello, retired law enforcement. He will never be off the radar because he's had too many issues. He will always be, somebody will always be going, there's Boozy, keep an eye on him. But he was actively under investigation for other unrelated things. When all that came out, hit the fan, it made national media, paper, print, social media, everywhere. And the cops never charged him with anything and were actively investigating him at the time and knew all of that happened. So that tells me there was nothing to investigate. It was not honest. He was blowing smoke on social media and stupid people believed him. Now, do I think he needs to say crap like that? No. But obviously we can't say, well, he said it, so it's true. This younger generation, I mean, there's a lot of nuances of daily life that just completely misses them. Like when they think I should be sharing someone else's views because it's hypocritical for me to share my views. But I only have my views in my head, like that girl. I only have my hair in my head, like here is my hair, here. That's all. I only have my views in my head. That's all I can share with you. So everything that he's told us so far has been disproven, or Ryan has come back and explained what's going on. So Ryan also explained that he only paid half. He didn't pay the full bill, which is why Stone Baby has not finished the material, because he hasn't paid the full bill. He's only paid half of it. If you go under contract law and you go into harassment, telephone harassment, and you know, physical harassment, even if you have a pending contract or an open contract with somebody for work, if you contact them inappropriately, maliciously, repetitively at the wrong time of day, or you contact them in an aggressive nature, they can suspend all communication and charge you with phone harassment, or worse. And they can force you to go to court to handle contract because any contact is being negative. So it's completely within Stone Baby's rights to not have any communication if Heavy Duty is attempting to communicate inappropriately and violates those, you know, those little gems of state law. So for me, I'm sitting here going, well, he's probably being a dumbass and being super aggressive and creating a dynamic that doesn't need to exist, and therefore they can't talk to him, so they've just been like, stop. Stop. This will either drop to the wayside or we'll end up going to court, but we can't deal with you anymore. And after hearing the feedback, I think that's probably what has occurred. So they don't steal the beats, they purchase them and then they blend them. And I was like, if he knew they stole the beats and he sat on that for months to see if it was going to benefit him or not, does that not make him just as big a duck in the puddle if theft is occurring? Which, yeah, it would. But it turns out they actually purchased the beats, which I assumed it was not something illegal going on. I just can't see Ryan. I can't see Ryan abusing other musicians when he's had to crawl and fight to get to where he's at today. So I don't see Ryan doing that. I know. And then, he's making all these claims about, he's this big, he's got this big plan in action. And of course I knew you were going to respond. It was all part of my plan. And I'm sitting there going, okay, we know you're not an evil mastermind at this point, because every time you release a new video, it creates more red flags. And we're kind of concerned at this point. And we're kind of concerned with the people that are following you, because I'm like, do you not see the big vapid gas bubbles in his thought pattern? Do you not see where when he's saying something bad about Stone Baby, he's also incriminating himself that that's true, because he had knowledge if something was illegal and did not report it and waited to see if it would benefit him. So, I'm sorry, if that was true, then he was just as guilty as everybody else, because he knew it was occurring and didn't report it. Turns out they buy the beats. He only paid half of his contract. Apparently the harassment was gotten to a level where they had to stop communication, which under contract law, if he's doing things inappropriately at inappropriate times of the day, calling multiple times repeatedly, being inappropriate or using inappropriate language when he does contact them, then they can stop all communication. They can actually get a restraining order too. You can get a restraining order on someone you have a contract with if their behavior is unbecoming and aggressive by nature. Anybody hear me out there? So I would say, hey, if it's gotten to this point where he's doing these nasty things, get a restraining order. But they're all within their legal realms to do this, and it needs to go to court. So I'd say Stone Baby will probably be serving him at some point. That would be what I would do. If this were my issue, I'd be like, screw that. We're just going to go ahead and get a restraining order, get a court date, serve him, and take care of this, because bibbidi-bobbidi, nope, ain't dealing with this crap no more. But just the way that he has carried himself, the way that Heavy Duty has carried himself during this, as being I am the big man, you don't come at me with anything because I'm such a big, tough man. But then he's not known what he's handling. He's not known how the music industries work. He's lied to us about them stealing beats. He doesn't understand that they purchase them and can augment them in any way they want to. He doesn't understand that, yes, he can contact them, but he can't contact them repeatedly at wrong times of the day or night, or aggressively, or they have every right to withdraw communication. And honestly, it just needs to go to court at this point, because the man is talking some straight up shite. And the things he said about Boozy, and with Ryan's support to Boozy, it's a wonder somebody has not already served paperwork on him for defamation. So, this has been a very interesting thing for me to watch, because being retired law enforcement, spending literally half my life in courtrooms watching court battles, I've been here watching this, talking through this, trying to ask questions, trying to logically, rationally sift through what they're doing, and all I can, in Ryan's part, he's like, aye, sure, bro. Like, he's like, oh, wherever that came from, get it out of your system, whatever, I'm going over here. And he didn't really want to engage. He was just like, I don't know what's going on about, on him. Well, then Heavy Duty just wanted to damn people. He just wanted to obliterate them with what he thought was things that would obliterate them. But the thing is he didn't have any, legal things. He had a lot of emotional beliefs and a lot of beliefs that he wanted you to follow and ascribe to and also feel horrible about. He wanted to make you feel as though Ryan was a threat to the people he worked with and to children. And he was really implanting these really negative, hateful, unnecessary things, where if there's a violation of the contract, just handle the violation of the contract and get over it. There's no need to go after and try to do character assassination here. But he was deviating so far away from the contract that I knew that the contract must not be the main issue. So, I still want to know what the contract says because, okay, this is, you know something, however you say your name, Zafaniel or whatever, which is supposed to include lyrics. That would be ordering a hamburger. Okay, when you order production on songs, you order someone that tweaks the song. They tweak the limits, the sound, the balance, the bass, the treble. They do all of that. They produce the song. They take the materials that you give and the beats, and they balance them out, and they fine-tune them, and they finish them off, basically for play. They do not provide lyrics. That would have to be under contract an additional statement. They don't provide lyrics. People that write the songs provide the lyrics. If he was not going to write the lyrics, he should have paid someone else to write the songs. In his mind, he says he paid Ryan to write the lyrics. So Ryan was supposed to write 5 songs for $4,195. Do you know how much money Ryan could get for writing songs? I mean, do you? Way more than $4,195. That would be like, nothing. That would not be worth Ryan's time. Ryan's time is more important than that because the things he can do in that amount of time it takes to write a song for someone else, he could have made himself $2 million writing his own material. So that doesn't make sense. But I can't help these people understand that argument does not make sense. And so, what they need to do is just take this to court and let the judge look at the contract, see who is in violation. If no one is in violation, but Stone Baby has had to retract from the agreement due to behavior, then the judge will take care of it. I just want to know what's going on. I want to know why it's so important for Mr. Dan to have everybody in such an emotional tizzy and to try to convince everybody that Ron is some kind of BLM and child predator. I want to know why it's so important for him to get that out there. And I want to know why it's so important for him to display things in such a way as to try to make people think it's illegal or something uncouth is going on or unbecoming is going on. When you get down to the nitty-gritty of it, apparently there's not. Now, he's the one that said he didn't understand the music industry. I'm going to absolutely go with him and say, yeah, I agree. He doesn't understand the music industry. And it's kind of an open-ended question for me, so I have to question everything. I have to go and look and try to whittle out what is actually factual and what can actually be done and what is actually going on. But I have to say that right now, with everything I've had to research and the questions I've had to ask and most of the information I'm getting, it looks like Dan is just on a tangent to make everybody feel sorry for him. So he's apparently paid half of what he was supposed to give Stone Baby. So by contract, if he's not paid, then they don't have to fulfill and do the songs until paid in full. So that kind of squashes any kind of battle he thinks he has just to begin with. But then, if he entered into a contract with Stone Baby and Ron is not listed on that contract and there was no separate additional agreement that Ron was going to write songs or provide lyrics, then where is he coming up with this? Like, most people that sign production agreements, it is basically to fine-tune their work, to balance out, to add layers, to add backing vocals if necessary, and to balance out, fine-tune all of those different sounds together so that they don't overpower each other, they work well, and it's ready and prepped for radio play. They do not sit down and write your music, help you rhyme words, and walk you through it like a baby. You're supposed to come prepared. And then you hash it out in the studio. You send your lyrics to the beats that they've prepped and sent to you to be prepped with. You come in to sing it, they record everything and balance it out and get it ready for radio play. They do not write your music for you. And I can't in any way understand a world in which Ron Upchurch would say, sure, I'll write songs for you. I mean, that's Ron's bread and butter. That's what makes Ron Ron. Why would he give that to someone else for nothing? I don't understand that. I think he's clueless about the process. You're absolutely right. He's very clueless. And the sad thing is that there's so many young people out there that are looking for people to follow. They'll latch on to anyone that seems to have a dominant stance. But the sad thing is the dominant stance you see on the internet, if you meet that person in person, face to face, you may find a very different human being, because you can mold and fix and fine tune what you present here to people. Except for me, I go live looking like Hades. But you know, it's because I don't care. But you never know quite what you're going to get in real life when you fall into the intoxication of this. And so that's why I tell everybody, question everything, research everything, be leery of everything and everyone, and do your research. And make sure that whatever decision you come to, you feel educated, that you made an informed decision, and that you can stand by your decision and explain it. So as Dan has done these other videos to expound on what he thought he was doing, he's just showed more gaps in logic and more missing knowledge that where he's either not understood or been so absolutely clueless that you can't tell him otherwise now. He bless his heart. He just believes in what now he has come to believe, and you can't tell him otherwise. But I'm terribly concerned because what he's doing is so dangerous. But you know something? If a man was so dead set certain like Dan that he was going, he was so well rounded and studied and informed that he went into this contract knowing everything and how it was going to be handled and everything he needed to do and how this is going to really help his standing and his persona online and elevate his branding. But he forgot to make sure that he didn't leave his trademark wide open for theft. I mean, I do very little online. But I do understand that if somebody were to go and buy my trademark on this name, they could push me out of business. So if I really wanted to monetize at some point and create an online persona, which I don't, but if I did, that would be the first thing I would secure as a logical business person in a practice. That would be the first thing I would secure. So if he's making errors like that in judgment, he's probably making, a few more. And so to come in here and to respond to my videos and tell me I'm stupid and I don't understand anything and Dan's got Brian over a barrel, and I'm like, really? Because every time Dan opens his mouth, I have more questions, because he leaves this little timeline and he leaves these little gems when he says these things that don't correlate to the next video with the next timeline and transition and information. He's showing a juxtaposition of beliefs and happenings, and he's changing things a lot. Like it went from they just didn't, they didn't finish what he paid to be done, to now we know that he's only paid half. He hasn't paid. And then he went through 7 phone numbers harassing Stone Baby Sounds. I understand, and now that I've told you about contract law and that they can still have restraining orders and still have harassment due to those reasons, rewind and go watch, then it makes sense that Stone Baby Sound may be amping up to just go take him to court because of all of this, and they just don't want to deal with him. And maybe Dan is now knowing he's fixing to crash and burn unless he can salvage something with you all that will follow him blindly. So maybe he's just trying to salvage something with you all that will follow him blindly. But it seems like he very much did not understand what he was walking into, did not understand what a production team does to music, and thought that he was going to walk in and be given sheet music with lyrics and told to sing to the song that they had everything else taken care of. And that's not what he entered into. Now, could he have paid a songwriter? Yeah, that would have been separate. Would have been separate. So it's kind of amusing to watch people stand up for this man when he almost incriminates himself. And he's like, oh, and they stole these beats. So they're sending me beats made by someone else that they stole. And I'm like, what? What? Because I thought, surely they're not listening to that and creating their own sounds. Surely they're not. Maybe they're just asking him, does this sound like a direction? Does this sound like a which one do you sounds more you? To get us started to create a beat that sounds like you. And I can understand them doing that. But actually, when Ryan explained it, they do purchase beats, pre-made beats by artists that put their stuff up for sale, and they use those. They may alter them a little bit, or they may straight up use them. But Ryan says they do that often. It's easier to get that pre-made or to get it to almost where you want it and tweak it a little bit as you spend 2 days in the studio trying to lay down beats, when you can get an artist that does a really good job, needs to be paid for their work, and has it already there, and you can just download it and use it. So I understand why they use pre-made beats now. But Dan immediately said they stole them. So if he is that erroneous in that one detail, then how much could he be off on the other details that are even more intricate toward Stone Baby sounds and what they do? I've said for a long time, I think this is just a huge misunderstanding. I think the expectation and the picture he had in his head is not what actually happens in these business arrangements, and not what was going to happen, and he can't get away from the picture in his head, and therefore he's mad at the world. But I will say that this whole line of crap with Boozy and trying to tell people that Ryan supports a child molester, that just is, to me, that crosses a line. Because, you know, people saying, I said there's no proof. There's proof too, because Boozy said it. Entertainers say a lot of stupid crap during interviews, especially entertainers that think they got some kind of manhood. They gotta, you know, throw up for everybody to see. You know what I'm saying? And so, you know, it's just like, people say stupid crap online. They say hella stupid crap that should not be said online. But if you look at the timeline, Boozy just got off parole in 2018. Within just a few months, he was back on investigation for something else. While he was actively under investigation is when he did that interview, and it went big. Like, I looked it up, I did some research on it. It went into print, social media, everywhere, and people threw a hellacious fit over that. They were really upset, which they should have been. It was, he should not have ever. I mean, that's just horrible. To even have that thought, it just bothers me. But to think that somebody actually said it bothers me even more. But there's no proof that he did it. And the cops were actively investigating him for something else. Had there been any proof or they had witnessed anything in their home, that made them think that, they would have charged him. He's not got any charges for anything related to anything like that. So, for you all saying that because he said it had happened, no. No. Let me give you an example. I'm a size 2, and Tyra Banks called me the other day and said she had never seen anybody smiles like me. I said it. It must be true. Go ahead. Go run and tell everybody. Mama Liz is a size 2 and she smiles like nobody's business. Go tell. I said it. I said it online. It's true. Go tell everybody. And y'all are sitting there going, no, we know that's not true. I know, because I'm obviously not a size 2 and I obviously don't know Tyra Banks. But then you swallow anything Dan tells you? I mean, don't get me wrong, Dan's pretty. He's nice to look at. He makes good videos. But I'm beginning to think, if you were to thump him on the noggin, it would sound like a holler log. And I'm sitting here going, and yeah, the leftist card game. That's one thing that frustrated me the most, is that for a couple years now, he has fussed about the left's tactics and how they handle these things. And then I'm like, he just did every play out of their playbook. How can you justify that when you fought it for so long? How can you justify that? And so I'm sorry, but you know, I would hate to know the man hours that I've spent in the court and in criminal proceedings and in trials. I would hate to know the amount of hours I've spent prosecuting revocation hearings in prisons. Like, that's all I did my entire career. I was a parole officer. I did murders and sex offenders, but I also did interstate compact. I did every level of supervision that was felony grade. So I also did probation, determinate release, and all that. But I primarily stayed with the violent male offenders and the sex offenders, the people that were on parole or interstate compact transferred from another state. And so I spent a whole lot of time in court listening to a lot of stuff, a lot of testimony, a lot of trials. And so I could just, in my mind, hear a judge or a good lawyer questioning and just tearing everything out from underneath Dan. Because you could tell the way he was saying it and the incompetent way he was trying to link everything, that it was not valid information. And so now having Ryan come back, you know, and I've watched Ryan's, I'm great at body behavior, body language too. I've watched Ryan's body language, and I see no stress. I see no, he's just kind of amused in a very sad way by all of this. But if you watch Dan's face, he's very taut. He's very stressed. He's very angry. He's all these emotions that you shouldn't get to the level that I'm seeing in him unless you are really fixing to be in a physical altercation and you're trying to gear up and get yourself prepared. And I'm sitting there going, why is he so violently aggressive in his body language about this? But his words are so lacking, in truth and in context that should be there if these things were true. And and a lot of his material is forced. He scripts it and he pushes it and then he adds more to it. It's very forced, and the laugh absolutely kills me. But I know that he's very comfortable scripted, and that's where he does his best work, because he does not think on the fly very well at all. And I think that he's allowed his hyperactive emotional status to overtake his common sense at this one, and because he has kind of made these videos without being as prepared and without reviewing them the way he should, he's let a few things slip to tell us something's not kosher. So I know, and I'm sorry, but when Ryan posted that video and I watched it, I laughed so hard. Because let me tell you something, if I had a business and it was all staked under one name, and that was my bread and butter, I would have that name locked down. Like, that would be priority number one every day, to make sure nobody could touch my empire and touch my name. So when that happened, I laughed till I about wet myself. I'm an old woman. I about peed my pants. And I told Ron I needed that laugh. Thank you. I needed that laugh so hard. And I'm not I didn't think Ron was lying, and I've tried not to be on a team, but I've tried to point out what I've seen that concerns me and makes me feel something's wrong. And I think I've been spot on. But when Ron did that, I had to laugh. I laughed and laughed and laughed, and it's still funny. It's still funny. It still tickles me to death. Because this man who's trying to say everybody has shafted him and used him and thrown him away is going to eventually have to go before a judge and say, he stole my name. Sir, he stole your name. How did you do that? Sir, how did you quit? You bought it. How did you steal his name? I went to a website and the domain was open for sale. So I purchased it. Sir, you said he stole your name. He did. It's my name. I had it first. But, sir, did you purchase the domain? Did you protect your investment of your name? Did you purchase the domain? Did you do all of these things to protect your brand? Well, I did everything I knew. Okay, but that doesn't make him a bad person for knowing more. It just means you didn't cover all your bases, and maybe you should have got some outside help to make sure you had your business locked down. It doesn't make him a bad person because he knew more. And so I did. I laughed my butt off, because if Ron had done anything unbecoming, or they had somehow worked him over somehow illegally, he would not have done that. He would not have done that, because it would have looked really tacky to a judge if they had done all these illegal things, held it in violation of a contract, and then done this. A judge would not like that. But doing that, as the epic troll tells me, I wasn't doing anything. I just want to be left alone. I wasn't doing anything. And by God, he won't leave me alone. So, damn it, I done something. And I'm like, poke the bear another time, why don't you? So, for me, I try to be honest, and I try to let you all see me work through my thought process, my thinking, my questioning, how I'm feeling, what I'm vibing on. And I don't try to hide anything from you all, because I think one thing that's missing in society today is people showing how they process information and create dialogues and communicate information. It's missing completely. So I don't care to show you these things. And if I'm ever wrong, I'll come back and go, well, shit, I was wrong. Fart. Let me see. Let's look together and see how I was conned. Let's look. And if something ever happens to where I was wrong, we'll come back and we'll do a video like that. I have nothing to hide. But I do have pretty good radar from all of my time in law enforcement, all of my time dealing with murderers, all of my time dealing with people that would rather skin you alive as to look at you. I did glean some information. I do understand body language. I do understand communication and the little gems you like to hide. They get thrown wide open in court. And I was picking up on a lot of that. And now, right after Ryan agreed to do this interview with me, my husband, myself, my kid, my husband's parents, even though we had not all been together, we all ended up with the Rona. So we had a few weeks of being sick, and I didn't have a voice for about a week. It was like a croup cold. We got through it. I still can't smell. But we're all on the mends now. But obviously I couldn't interview him if I couldn't talk and I wasn't feeling good. I was not going to do a good job, so we kind of left it open. So I still want to do the interview. So I sent Ryan a little comment to say I still want to do this interview. We'll have to try to get together when things calm down for you. I'm not going to be talking about this stupid crap, though. I'm actually going to be talking about things that the older fans want to hear. A reflection on his life growing up, things that he thinks kind of made his personality and his character, things that helped him understand what integrity was and how to make sure that he brought that into his music career. And, you know, Ryan is, like you said, he can be petty and he can be an absolute turd at times. And there are times that I've gotten on here and been like, pump the brakes, boy. Chill out, you know. But for the most part, at least Ryan is consistent. So I don't see things that are completely outside of his normal behavior. He's pretty consistent to his fans. But what I saw with HDC the last few days was terrible inconsistency, some really, really big issues with anger and frustration, which crippled his ability to communicate and communicate effectively. And then I saw the lapses of judgment in his storyline and the things he was trying to sell to create an emotional response from the audience. And so I talked about it. I've had a couple of people disagree, and I've had a couple of people not like the way that I show everything. And people are like, well, I come here and you just want me to believe you. No, I never want anyone that comes here to just believe me. Never. My motto in life is question everything. Do your research. Even if you come here and I tell you something, question me. Do your research. Don't ever believe anything anyone ever tells you. Do your research. Look into it. Ask your questions. Really do an in-depth dive to understand and make a very good, informed decision on how you feel about this information before you take a stance. And once you take a stance, that way you'll have all the evidence of why you created that stance and how you're going to support that stance. Don't believe everyone else. Not even me. Research, question everything, be leery of everyone, be skeptical of everything, and then go and do your research. For me, it was easier for me to follow this story and find the gaps because of my time spent in courtrooms, prisons, revocation hearings with attorneys, with judges. It's easier for me because I have all the training and it just is still crammed in my head. It will not leave. So, and for the people that's like, why don't you make a fucking video up moving around? I'm going to say this once. Because I don't like to take up my time in my videos to do this. The reason I am sedentary when you see me on these videos most of the time is because when I worked as a wilderness camp counselor and we had juvenile offenders basically in the woods was the prison bars. We lived outside, we cut timber, we built our cabins, we cooked over fire. I was a wilderness boot camp counselor for kids that otherwise would have gone to prison as adults. So that was the way that we didn't put juveniles in prison as adults. I was attacked with an axe. I had to have multiple surgeries, learn how to walk again. I still need more surgeries. I still have damage that can't be corrected without creating other issues. It damaged my nervous system so bad that I developed a neuromuscular disorder. My nervous system is now so foobarred that my nerve sensations and the synapses that travels through your nervous system, my nerve cues don't get there. So some days my legs work, some days they don't work at all, and I never know. I just have to take it moment by moment during the day because my legs, and I'm going crippled. My left quad has already atrophied. It's gone. Feels like a lump of lard in my leg. I still have a little bit of my calf left, Not very much. My left knee likes to come out of socket all the time, and so I have to wear a lot of braces. I have a lot of Ehlers-Danlos symptoms along with my RSD and everything else I have going on. It took them 6 years to diagnose me because they did not understand what was going on, because I live in such a rural area. We do not have the specialists we need. There's only about a 8 to 12 month grace period where they can get in there and salvage and save the nerves before they just completely kill themselves. So basically, I was too far gone, and my nervous system was already in the process of being ruined and dying. So my nervous system is diseased and dying. So I do not have the nerve impulses to always allow me to be mobile. And you will see in some of my videos, I will be super swollen. I'll have an arm super swollen, or I will look really fluid filled. It's because my body does not always respond correctly to stimuli. So if I was to knock my toe on the love seat, my leg might swell up like it's been in a car accident because my nerve responses are not correct. So that's why I'm seated a lot when I do all of this. So it is a terminal diagnosis. It is spread to my organs. I'm just very lucky that it didn't go to my heart first like it does with most people that have this. It actually went to my bowels and my pancreas. So I now have bowel issues and pancreatic issues, which I have to take a lot of medications, and a lot of the medications make me gain weight, so I've gained so much weight. So I went from being a hella Amazon that worked in the prison system, that wore army fatigues every day, and hog hunted, deer hunted, and trail road trained horses, and was a fur trapper with my husband and did taxidermy and stuff like that, to being someone that is disabled and struggling to maintain the ability to walk. So I don't get up a lot and move around in these videos because the coordination is not there for me to focus on that when I'm trying to focus on you. So I'm not saying feel bad about what you say. I'm just saying people have reasons for the delivery of their information sometimes, and you may be the smartest person in the world, but you may not understand what is going on in someone's life to limit their ability to deliver, such amazing content. I can't do cartwheels and cheerleader moves to lure you in. That's why I'm sitting here. So that's where I am. So as soon as I started really limping really badly, and they could tell I was having mobility issues, the Department of Corrections wanted rid of me because I dealt with violent male offenders that had killed people. So they were like, she's a liability. I fought with him, fussed with him. We did not have a good break. I am still mad at the Department of Corrections because I was a damn good officer. And they were not willing to put me into any other role. They just wanted to get rid of me before anything bad happens to me. So they were done with me and threw me out. So I finished up my career while I was still able to get around as well as I could, doing counseling for youth in state's custody that had addiction issues due to trauma backgrounds. And then I did independent and family counseling for people that had borderline personality issues or bipolar, schizoaffective issues. So I've done a lot in my life. But that's the reason I don't make such stimulating content. That's why I'm sitting here. It's not because I'm lazy or I want to bore you. It's because I some days do not have the ability to stand up and walk. So, but again, people like to say hurtful things without knowing all the information. People like to make these huge leaps of faith in their statements, and they end up saying things that are very much untrue, unfounded, or unnecessary. And to be quite honest, I think Heavy Duty Country has found himself in that position all week. And every time he tried to save face and look better, his stupidity would show and it would just go worse. So that's where I believe he is. Y'all are fussing about something. Is that not what I'm doing, judging? No, judging would mean that I am telling you his worth as a person, rating him in a societal worth standpoint, and telling you to have nothing to do with him because I don't find him worth interaction on a societal standpoint view. I'm not telling that. He does some things very well. He does political opinion pieces very well. He has things that he can do very well. One of the things he doesn't do very well is try to be an overlord to other people and try to use other people's emotions to railroad other people into kowtowing. He just does not, he doesn't understand that very well. He comes off very abrasive and doesn't always think about what he's doing. He gets so caught up in his own storyline that he tells on himself. So I just use that, I pick up on that because I've been in so many situations where I've learned so much from offenders, from people that have committed 70 plus felonies and had a life of crime, and always get caught. Planning and understanding your limitations are key components. And he doesn't do either very well. He needs to stick to what his strong suit is, which is talking about political opinion. But I don't get to dictate his worth because other people may find that completely, something that salvages him, from all the fibs that he told this week and all the half-truths that he spun yarns with this week. And, and that's fine. I just I don't find him a very useful person, but it doesn't mean that he's not useful to other people. So for you to sit here and say that that's what you get from me, well, you get that from me because you approve it for yourself. I don't approve that behavior for myself. I've met people that have killed people, spent 20 years in prison, come out, done a hell of a lot of work to correct themselves, and been fine people. I've seen people change. The power of change is amazing. When people really want to be good people and they really strive to have positive relationships with others, it's amazing what somebody can revamp about themselves and change and correct. It's amazing. So I don't get to judge his worth. I'm going to leave that up to Jesus. And apparently you, since you like to do those things. I don't dictate anyone's worth. But the people that come on here and go, you're just dictating his worth, that thought never crosses my mind because I would not attempt to do that. But it crosses your mind because at some point you've probably justified your ability to do just that. Much the way that you came on my page and told me that it was stupid and I was hypocritical for sharing my views. Hypocritical means that if you're being a hypocrite, you're doing something that you tell other people not to do. How can sharing my views be hypocritical? Because the only views I have in my head are mine. Now, it would be hypocritical of me if I would say you can have your own views, but you have to say whatever this person says and only this person. That would be hypocritical because I preach tell your own truth, speak your story. But it's not hypocritical for me to share my own viewpoints because that's all I have. I have nothing else to share. I only have my opinion, my perspective. I don't think that you have a good command of the English language and communication skills. And it may completely be an age thing that can be corrected. But I'm just going to say, if you start using these words, you're going to create enemies. Hypocritical is doing the same as the other. No, hypocritical would be telling somebody not to do it while I'm doing it. Hypocritical is giving a vantage point for me to have that behavior by telling everyone else it's wrong. If I were doing what Dan's doing, I would be just as wrong as Dan. You do understand that, right? So if I would go on here and was telling you a bunch of lies about people and trying to emotionally take you hostage, then I would be just as wrong as Dan. But I don't say that. I say you can come here and get my perspective and my opinion and my viewpoint, question everything, research everything. Don't believe anything anyone ever tells you, even me. Question everything. Do your own research. Educate yourself. Come to your own educated assumption. Because I'm not in control of that. And if you really think that people can be in control of your heart and your mind, then I wonder how old you are and how much of the real world you have seen. Because your heart and your mind are two things that are very, very, very difficult to control for anyone. I mean, it's really almost impossible to lie about what's truly in your heart and your mind. It's really almost impossible. It will come out at some point. It's very hard to hold that game line and tell those lies so consistently, that you can cover up what's truly intrinsic within you as a human being, because you will tell on yourself eventually. So I don't try to pull any punches. I am just me. I am just a fat little woman from Appalachia who has a hell of an education because I was going to go and work the rest of my career in forensic psychology, and then boom, I got hurt. Boom, they found out that it was beyond hurt. It was damage to my nervous system. Boom, now I'm having to have corrective surgeries to walk. Boom, now I'm FUBAR because my spine and everything else is screwed up. Boom, now I've got muscle atrophy. I'm losing it. Boom, now my organs are affected. I'm going to die. It is terminal. But what the hell? I'm still useful, so here I am. Let me tell you things that I have learned from working with a very, very dangerous population. And one of the most dangerous things I've seen across the globe, shared in all levels of the caste system worldwide, is when people try to emotionally manage you, to feed you information and place you into an emotional state. They do so because you are so much more easily controlled when you are emotional. Logic goes out the window, and you elevate, and instead of thinking and having a calmness and kind of being locked within your body and being present, you go into your headspace to where you're rational and you're spinning and you're thinking and you're not being clear and you're not making good, valid connections to what you need to do next. And people will take advantage of that. And that's what he did when he said he supports BLM. He supported a man that abuses children. Now, we know if you look at those, neither of those are valid statements. He was just needing to make that connection to generate that emotional response so that you went, and he could then move you around and place you where he needed you to serve him. That's exactly what he was doing. It's a trick used by everyone that thinks they're some kind of master manipulator. But if you're aware of that, then it happens less and less and less. So I try to tell people to be aware of that. When people try to generate a heavy-handed emotional response from you, and if you don't respond appropriately, and they're like, you didn't feel that didn't hurt you, are you normal? Now they're really pushing you to jump into it, because they know that you have to be there for them to be controlled. Otherwise, you're based as fuck, and they can't move you. So they need you. They need your eyebrows up, your voice up, and need you up here rolling around, not making good decisions, so that they can just pawn you wherever they need you. It's very easy for people to do. I mean, you can use all these new words and saying, I don't simp for people, but the fact that you're here fussing with me tells me you do simp for people. You're so invested in Dan being right that you're going to come here and you're going to listen to my opinion and my perspective that comes from years and years of training, and you're going to fuss with me. You don't need to fuss with me. You don't need to convince me that you feel and believe differently. I know you feel and believe differently. I'm trying to explain to you why you do that way. Maybe you'll go and think about this and understand how you respond to people and how people use that as a control mechanism. But you don't have to convince me that you believe and feel different. I see that. You don't need to fuss with me. I believe it. Point taken. You don't believe like me. That would probably be 75% of the world. But it doesn't bother me. I don't know. Do I have a mod in here? I know my mod's been kind of busy and this was like not prompted. But I mean, if you're just going to be disrespectful and you're the only one that can spout knowledge and no one else and does these strange things that you do at night, like thinking and having thought processes and discernment in your daily life. No one else does that. You're a special human being. No, you're not. Everybody does that. But until we start to understand where other people are coming from and how other people understand and process, then you're just on a little island by yourself hanging out thinking you're the only one that has a brain. It's a lonely place, isn't it? It's a lonely place. The best thing I can tell you is that if you're starting to see a lot of people question someone that you absolutely believe in, take a step back. Start to question things. Put the person you believe in through the paces. Because if they're great, and you believe in them, and you know that they're going to be that genuine person that you believe them to be, and you put them through the paces, they're going to come out, and you're going to have even more belief in them, right? They're going to do well. So what's to lose? What's to lose by sitting back and questioning? I sat back the last couple of days and asked questions of Upchurch. I said, if this is true, if this is correct, if this is honest. And I tried to go through all the muck and look at everything, look at every option, every perspective, anything. I didn't cast anything on the floor. I said, okay, we'll put that in the pile and I'll look at that too. Now, luckily, I've been able to get all the answers. I've been able to go through information to get all the answers. I don't like just wait for, I need somebody that believes the way I believe to tell me what this means. No, I'm going to go out there and I'm going to ask probably 100 different people in 100 different ways and get 100 different answers, and then I'm going to shake it all together and see where it gels. I don't wait for someone that I think can tell me the right thing to tell me what I need to believe. I'm going to go and figure it out. General consensus. We're going to we're going to do this, by populace. And so I've gone out and studied and gotten the information I've needed and made decisions. And then Ryan has been gracious enough to go online and answer a few questions, especially about the beat situation. So it's not difficult to look at these things and take them apart piece by piece and look at each piece. But it takes someone who's actually after the truth. I don't want either person to come out of this smelling like a rose or looking like shit. I want the people that are all concerned with what the hell's going on to get an answer. I want to know if someone is trying to lie, manipulate, use bad energy, try to have people make false assumptions and run with it, try to con people into misinformation or a bad belief. I'm trying to look at all these things and go, okay, is this someone that I need to spend any more of my time on? And after the last 3 days of videos from Dan, I don't believe he's someone that I want to spend my time on anymore. And that's where I am. Other people will say, well, he's somebody I'm going to give another chance. Okay. Well, you see a value in him that I don't see, so I'm going to trust that you know what's best for you and you go on with your bad self. That's fine. But I'm not going to follow you to your page and demean you and belittle you and tell you that you're a hypocrite, because you're doing things that are healthy. You're asking questions. You're being curious. You're trying to figure out what is an honest fact or what is a delusion. You're doing healthy things to try to understand and process the world around you. And sometimes you just happen to have to process the lies that other people say. In the last few days, that's where I've been. It doesn't mean Dan's a horrible person. To me, it means he doesn't understand what he put himself in. He did not process what the contract meant, and he's going off what he thought would happen rather than what black and white in print said would occur. And he's created this limbo effect where he's got people stuck in the middle and they don't know what to believe. So I think a lot of it could be answered by just putting a picture of the contract up. If it's so important for him to have public opinion on his side, put a picture of the contract up and let us look at the contract. Yeah, there's a lot of correlations in the Arbor thing. Yeah, there's a lot of correlations there. That may be something that, you might want to look at. That may be something that you might want to kind of investigate a little bit more. And you're not a hypocrite for wanting answers. You just want answers. You just want to test out your theories in life and try to find out what makes the most sense to you. As much as we've said follow the science the last 3 years, nobody quite understands that the scientific process is embedded in every aspect of our life. You have to try and test things. You have to, and even me, when I really want to believe somebody or I really want to follow somebody and I really want to put them on a pedestal, I get really critical of them. Because I want to know that I'm not wasting my time and putting somebody on that pedestal that shouldn't be on that pedestal. So I get really critical of them. Really critical of them. Hey Daniel, how you doing? You missed all the fireworks. What is that? Are you trying to say BLM? Reference making people so upset about the end? I don't know. To me, I know that he doesn't support BLM. He said he doesn't support BLM. I don't support BLM. Anytime that you try to create a bias is between races or cultures, I don't think it's a good thing. I think you have to take people on an individual basis, and this whole lumping together and setting one lump ahead of others, or one lump more important or one lump less important, I don't think that's healthy. I don't think that's necessary. I think you should, as people, we should take each other on an individual basis, and all your decisions should be made on an individual contact. How do I know what I think about people I've never met? I need to meet them. I can only tell you what I think about the people I've met because those are the only people I've felt out. So I don't like organizations that lump people. I don't like organizations that try to put other people beneath them, and I don't like critical race theory. I don't think that 5-year-old kids need to be told they're inherently evil. That's a 5-year-old child. That's abusive to plant that seed in a child's mind. I don't care what color they are. That's abusive. It's going to hurt them, beyond hurt them. I mean, the damage that could do well into adulthood, especially when they're in the first few years of becoming spatially aware and aware about social dynamics. You know, it's just so unhealthy. It's so detrimental. I mean, we can't put that off on a kid that is still in its, I call it the stemware model of the brain. They still don't have the frontal lobe, which is the one that processes all their interaction with each other, or social dynamics, or, you know, etiquette, empathy, sympathy. It's all right here. And kids don't get that. For women, until about 22, 25 is when it stops forming. For men, 23 to 27. So to ask a 5-year-old to process that kind of information, it is like asking my goldfish to fetch a 5-pound bone. It can't be done. And it puts them in a very unnatural state. Yeah, I don't like to live in an echo chamber either. I like to hear people, hear them out, have individual conversations, and I don't like to ascribe to groupthink. Because if you ascribe to groupthink, or you're in a group and you give your energy to that group, it only takes 5% of any group to shift the physical power. So if you're with a group of people, you better trust all of them, because it's only going to take a handful to create a negative experience. So I'm very, very big on individual. I want to know the individual, and I'm not going to go to groupthink. So you can decide if you're going to troll or not. Well, dang it, you would have been handy a few minutes ago. Okay, portraying to the world that it's okay for a minor. How do you pick the topics that you're stuck on? Because literally the only person that said anything about any kind of sexual relation with an adult was Boozy. He said it on an interview where if you listen to the entire interview, he said about 15 other outlandish, stupid things that I don't think anybody should ever say in public, or on mixed media outlet where kids can get to it. Do I agree with what he said? No. Do I think it was stupid? Yeah, I think probably 99% of what he says is stupid. I listened to a couple of his interviews, and to be quite honest, I don't think people like him because he has great communication skills. Just me thinking there. I think it's because he has musical talent. Do I think his musical talent should trump and like block out all the nasty things he said and done? No, I think people need to pay attention to that as well, because it really shows us where he is in his mental headspace. But does the things that he says on interviews that are outlandish and garish and just trying to get shock and awe, does that mean that it's true? No. Nope. Doesn't mean it's true. You just have to take it for what it is. It's what I would call a stupid man with a stupid microphone, and they stupidity double. It just happens, and you just have to say, well, stupid people make stupid mistakes, and he said a stupid thing, and he caught a heck of a lot from it. Like, people really nailed him to the cross for a while after that. But he was actively under investigation by law enforcement. They were aware of what he said, and he was never charged with anything like that. So I would have to assume that they saw nothing that was a red flag in the treatment of his children. So that's, I mean, you just have to make those assumptions. You know, and it was a few years ago. It was a couple, 3 years ago. You know, and he's been under investigation a couple times since then. I mean, the man can't stay out of trouble, bless his heart. He just cannot stay out of trouble. He's not a good decision maker. I mean, you can tell that just from his behavior and his interactions with people that he puts online. He's not a good decision maker. He does not make his decisions based on how he thinks, you know, people are going to respond. Because if he did, he would make much better decisions and show us much better behavior. He likes to shock and awe people, which, after watching several of his interviews, is probably why he said that. And we all know the whole bravado thing. We all know some of that probably played in there as well. Yeah, those kids have a mother. They have other family. If the cops had seen anything that was a red flag, they would have been an investigation, and those kids would have been protected. I mean, yeah, and everybody's mad about the 20 seconds he put on the song, and I'm just like, I can respect church for saying, I remember this voice when I was a kid. It was one of the voices that made me really take interest in rap, in the flow, and the bars, and so I can see him saying full circle, I want to hear this voice on one of my records now. I've made it. I can understand that. I can also understand somebody going, I don't particularly care for what that man stands for, and I don't want to hear his voice anywhere. I can understand that viewpoint as well. I straddle between both of them most of the time. Um, do I think he seems like a very nice man? No, I don't. But I don't get to judge him and his worth and his value, because he may not mean anything to me, but to other people, his music may have stopped them from committing suicide or making a bad mistake. He could be many things to many people. In that one moment, in that interview, I think he was a fly blank idiot, because nobody's ever say crap like that. But I can't take it as truth. I have to take it as a statement from an entertainer, which means it could have fallen anywhere on a spectrum of 5,000 things. But he was actively under investigation. He had just gotten off parole in 2018. He was under investigation by the cops at that point. It did get massive media attention, and had the cops seen anything, they would have intervened. I'm comfortable knowing, and that he's been under investigation a couple times since then too, there's not anything going on, or it would have been seen, because he has been pretty heavy profile by law enforcement since he got off parole, not gonna lie. So I'm pretty confident that if something were actually going on, it would have been found. But he also has a mother and other family members to intervene as well. It's not just up to law enforcement. They could have intervened and reported anything to law enforcement. So it never came to that. So I'm just going to say it was probably a shock and awe campaign, and he's a stupid idiot for saying it. Because there's no way you can justify saying that. There's no way saying what he said is right. There's no way to say that, oh yeah, I get to say these things, and me saying this is fine. No, it's not. It was never fine. You just shouldn't say things like that. It's just scary. What did Cheryl say? I missed it, Sherry. Yeah, check into it yourself. I did. I went and listened to a bunch of his interviews and kind of got how he behaves in interviews, which is very flamboyant and very, boom, in your face. And then I read about the backlash of what happened after he said it and all the people coming for him. And then before that, I read about his time incarcerated and the squabble about when he got released on parole, and then immediately coming up and being under investigation the moment he gets off parole. So he's had a very tumultuous life, and he's made lots of mistakes. I'm sure his music has also helped lots of people. I have to find a balance for my belief upon this man. I do not think that he is someone that I would go to for guidance. I do not think that he is someone that should give guidance. I think that everything he says in a microphone during an interview has to be taken at an entertainment value standpoint, because I don't think he's sharing deep, honest communication. And I just think that he's not someone I would find useful in many ways. But other people get to make their own mind up about him, and I don't get to. And I have to respect that for whatever reason Ron wanted him as a feature, he wanted him as a feature. I don't pay the boys' bills, so I don't get to make the decisions. But I can say that I've never heard Ryan state anything to support the man's BLM status. I've never heard Ryan speak on that interview. Ryan may not have even known about that interview. I didn't even know who Boozy was until all this happened. So I'm just saying, a lot of things can fly under the radar. But I mean, it was just a very tacky move by someone that doesn't have good decision-making skills, obviously from the track record. And had there been anything going on, I do believe, between the family and law enforcement that were actively investigating him, they would have seen a red flag. So I'm comfortable in stating that it was probably an entertainment statement for shock and awe, and to make people clutch their pearls. Yeah, he's not anyone I would support either, Sherry. He's just not, But I don't get to control other people, so I have to live in a world where other people make their own minds up. Yeah, he did look, okay, June, John, he did look rather under the influence during that interview, I might also add. And there are other interviews in which he looked very similar. So there could be something in altered state there as well. Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah, Easy E had some rough. Yeah, he had some rough spots out there too. Not as many, but yeah. Cheryl, my husband was in prison for 14 years for drugs. Different man. He doesn't see. And I've known, like I supervised a man. The person that I learned literally the most from my entire life was a man that went to prison at 17. He was with a group of young adults that went in to rob a gas station. And it didn't go as planned, and one of the group ended up shooting the attendant, and he died. The guy that I had on parole went to prison at 17 as an adult, spent over 20 years in prison. While he was in prison, he made a lot of changes. He took a lot of education courses. He got a couple of degrees. And he started really challenging everything that he had been taught as a kid, everything he had seen, everything that he had kind of put together as, his commandments for living. And he realized that he had made some very big errors in judgment. And so he started recalibrating himself from a very core components. And by the time he was paroled, and he was paroled out of Kentucky, but I got him on an interstate compact case in Tennessee, and he had made so many changes to himself. The person I met that came in for intake that day, after I had approved his release plan and investigated the home and everything, the person that came in to meet me was one of the most well put together, well spoken people that I've ever met. And we talked a lot, because he was like, if you had met me when I was 17, you would have thought there's no hope. He did a lot of speaking engagements for me. He was always happy to come in and help share his story so that other people would not go down the same road. He was a lot. He was, I really got attached to him. He was just a great human being. And we went through cancer twice. I'm going to cry. We went through cancer twice, and he beat it both times. And he only had a couple years left on his parole sentence. And he came by one day after he'd had a surgeon. I'd given him a travel permit to go to a surgeon's appointment. And he came back and he said, it's back and it's metastasized. And I'm not going to fight it this time. I'm too tired. And it had spread so much, it wasn't a good prognosis. I begged. Well, he went on almost immediately went on hospice at home, was almost immediately bedbound. And I was watching him just melt away. And I called the governor of Kentucky. I called everybody in Kentucky that I could swing, have power and kind of swing some power as a parole officer and as an ICOTS officer. And I said, read the case notes, read the track record. He will be dead in less than 60 days. He has less than 18 months on his entire sentence. Can we talk to sentence management, and can we let him off paper early? So number one, I don't have to drive 45 minutes to go to a home visit every 3 days. Because he was, quote unquote, dangerous, but he wasn't. He was, because of his crime, he was on the dangerous list. I said, but also because he's bedbound, he can't get up. He's on nurse care 24/7, and it would be great, through all the things that he's done to change himself and overcome his bad mistake at the beginning of life. It would be great to give him this one gift, to die off paper, free. I petitioned and challenged and begged, and they would not let me do it. I've been in places where they've let me kind of squeeze things out when things like that have happened before. Especially with Tennessee, I worked with the governor a lot with clemencies and stuff. So I was really hoping that I could work something out with Kentucky, and they were, no. Basically, it sent me a letter that said you will watch him die, and then you will verify his death, and you will send us all the paperwork. And I was like, well, aren't y'all a ray of sunshine? So I had to watch him die. That was hard. But he was ready to go. He had made peace with it long ago. He had the most precious wife. And I went and visited her several times, even after his death, even after I left corrections. I would still go visit her. And then we rode each other for a long time until she had to move out of state to go live with her family because she was getting older herself. So, precious people. You meet good people everywhere. People can bounce back from anything. People, as long as you get up breathing, you can change who you are. So that's why I think this storyline has hit me so hard, is what is going on to create the animosity that we're witnessing between two people who should be able to talk it out, between two people who should know the value of keeping our little conservative group whole, of not creating, issues in the midst of the ranks. So I started paying a lot of attention, and I started getting really, really critical of both of them and the things they were saying. But the only one that I have found curious body language, curious wording and statements, and then a juxtaposition of a timeline that didn't match, but also trying to insinuate ideas for people to grab when he knew what he was saying was not valid, was Heavy Duty Country. And so I'm very skeptical of him right now. And I feel I have every right to be. And the people that are skeptical of Ryan, if you can verbalize and explain that to me, then I want to understand why you're skeptical of Ryan. But the best way to be in life is to be skeptical of everybody and make sure that you make an informed decision as to who to support in life, and that you can clarify why you support that person if somebody asks you. Because let me tell you what, in this world, people see other people as stepping stones, as fodder for jokes, as people, as just punching bags, just to practice their disdain upon, And I will say that if you really want to hurt somebody, you need to be smart enough to really sell what you're saying. Because if you can't, it doesn't hurt. And spelling helps. It only hurts if you spell it correctly. I've said that 5,000 times. But I mean, if you go after somebody and you think you're going to make them feel horrible, but then you're so inept in your conversation skills, your word choice, and cognition that you make a statement that does not make sense, then you're not hurting anyone except for yourself, because you're making yourself look as though you cannot communicate effectively. So, there's a time to sit back and shut up and be wise. And there's a time to stand up and start talking and take action. And for me, when stuff like this hits the fan and news stories break, you all know, if y'all been with me any time at all, any amount of time at all, I like to come on here and show you all how I work through the process. Because I normally have to chew on things for quite a while before I make my mind up. So I like to show you all the process that I'm working through this. I'm trying to process and compost all the material, and I'm talking myself through this, and you'll see me change and go back the other way and question, and it's good, because I don't believe the younger generations see that role model very well anymore. Probably why when I do it, people think I'm being a hypocrite, because they don't understand that that's a healthy process. You don't just believe it and go. You really have to form an opinion and round it out with information. And I don't think a lot of people understand that anymore. I don't think they understand it at all. Well, there are some narcissistic people on this platform. Yeah, I did a panel to break down the psychology of how sexual abuse can basically stop the formation of the brain, or can create alternate formations, or can limit certain structures from forming completely. And I went and did a whole little panel about this, trying to help people understand, understand the brain and some of like the neural synapses formation and the myelination process and the frontal lobe social skill stimulation, how it's all kind of affected when these things happen, and it impedes how we relate to people. And I just wanted to share that, you know. And I think I even may have gone into epigenetics just a tiny bit, but that's very hard for people to understand, so I kind of drew it back a little bit. And everybody was so thankful that I had, you know, dumbed it down so everybody can understand it, because I'm here to tell you the big words, they mean really simple things most of the time, so it's very easy to kind of get people to understand it. And the great audience, they asked great questions, we had a great conversation. And then a few days later, that creator messaged me and was like, well, I'm having a beef with this woman. Why don't you come on panel and we're all going to kind of make her feel really bad. No. No. I'm sorry. I thought you had a channel about missing children and child abuse and how these things affect our world. You're new, I hadn't seen any red flags, and now you're asking me to come on panel and basically demean someone because you don't like her? Well, why don't you like her? Well, she's selling memberships to her channel and she's telling you she's going to put me out of business. You do know that YouTube is worldwide, and there's lots of people that watch videos, and you're probably going to get your own audience. You don't need to worry. They're going to get, and people can watch more than one why are we doing this? And she was like, are you not going to help me? No, I don't know this person, but I certainly wouldn't jump up on a panel and scream at a woman that I don't know. What would I say? I have just been usurped by the authority at hand to tell you that you suck. I don't know why you suck, but you suck. I'm allowed to say you suck. You suck. What would I say? You know, and I said, I'm not going to be part of that. That's not what I want to be part of. Well, how dare you? How dare I indeed not want to attack someone I don't know? And, you know, I mean, has she done something really bad? No, she's just selling memberships and says she's going to put me out of business. I hope her business does well, but I hope yours does well too. But I don't want to be in this. This is not why. That's not why I did the panel. I did the panel to share information and to help people understand the psychology behind child abuse. I didn't join up to, like, I'm not going to join a beatdown. Yeah, it's like, not going to do that. And she goes, well, you're not who I thought you were. Obviously. You know. And so for 3 or 4 weeks after that, she would pop into my lives and tell me how sorry I was. Oh, okay. Glad to know you're still fighting mad. Yay. You know, would steal my videos, play them, and she thought she was making me mad. And I was like, no, because I normally do psychological education. Sure, watch them. Somebody's going to get a good message, or they're going to understand, or they're going to be like, oh crap, I need to check into that. It's fine. To me, it was like free advertising. So go ahead and use my videos. And when nobody would turn against me, she was like, why will you people not turn against me? Well, because when I go to her channel, she tells me to be leery of everyone, even her, and to research everything and to make my own mind up and to not let people talk me into stupid things. And, you know, so the people she was telling to go watch me, that they all needed to hate me, they would watch me and then be like, no, she's actually a really nice person. I gained like 300 subs in 4 weeks from her just trying to dog me. But the last thing that was said was she sent somebody to one of my lives, and she was like, well, she just wants you to know that she made $300 in memberships this month. Yay. Good for her. Congratulations. You know, and to this day, the people that were in her comment section would have really great conversations. They were really there to help each other heal after things that happened in their own little lives. They were a great little crew of people that were really dedicated to each other. And so I didn't try to disrupt her channel. I didn't want to cause any problems. You just go be you, and I'll go over here be me. And, you know, because her group had a really great communication. And they were doing some really therapeutic things for each other. I was like, don't anybody mess that up. They're doing work. And she had somebody jump in my live one day and be like, well, she's still making money. She made $300 this month and then plus super chats, and then you don't even monetize your channel. I don't want you to ever come here and think that what I'm saying is influenced by money. That's important to me. That you come here and don't think anything is influenced by money. Yeah, I know, Jamie, if you know me, you know if I think it, it comes right out. So there's really no way I could hide it if it was. It would just, there me. And they were like, what do you want me to tell her? And I was like, what? So she's more important and she's doing better work because she gets money? Yes, they pay her. They pay her so that they can access her. And I said, all right. I said, that's I said, if she takes that as a super big positive and it fills the void within her soul, that's fine. That's great. She needs to believe in herself. Well, what do you want me to tell her? Be careful the esteem you hold upon yourself because people give you money. I also pay for toilet paper. But I don't do really good things to that toilet paper. And I pay for it. You should see what I do with it. So sometimes we pay money for things that are just necessary. And I bet you they were probably paying for her channel so they could be in that chat group, because that chat group had some phenomenal people rocking it. I'm just saying. They had some real good people doing some real work with some people that they had befriended. They really had a strong community of helpers, just trying to reach out to other people that had been abused. I mean, she just, you know, in the first little bit, she had a really good channel and just went after she started getting money and just kind of crashed and burned. But she still had a safe place for those people. And I've not been to her channel since then, but I hope that safe place is still there for those people. You don't have to apologize to me, honey. You don't have to apologize to me. You are who you are. And you have to navigate life. And whatever you do to handle life, you know, it's been created from things you have gone through previously. And so you walk into new scenarios with your past still kind of with you. That's how you feel prepared for the future, as you draw upon the past. I will tell you to be very aware that sometimes the things we drag around can impede future relationships, can stop us from having joy. So just be careful, because sometimes we will block joy because we're so terrified, because we can't identify it, because we're so prepared by what has been in our past that we're not open to new things. And when we can't identify it, we get scared and we block it and we run away from it. And so sometimes, you know, I say, you know, you put all your lessons in life in your wheelbarrow and you pack them around. Don't pack other people's rocks that will weigh you down. And make sure that every rock you have in your wheelbarrow is a necessary rock. You're not just packing weight that you don't need to be packing. Make sure it's something that helps make you a better person and it helps you navigate the world more clearly. You know, and that's all I tell people. You don't have to apologize for how you navigate the world, but you do have to be aware of how it's affecting you, because that's important. And are you having the best life possible? And if not, is it navigation skills? Is it past experiences? Is it, you know, an anticipated response that you fear? You know, look into it. Because the future and new people should feel like opportunities and not like pitfalls. And if you are walking around the world and you see new things and they terrify you, talk to somebody, because new things should be opportunities, not pitfalls. New people should be opportunities, not domestic assaults waiting to happen. You know, you should be able to find a positive, or at least hope for a positive experience. And if you're walking around and you're not hoping for positive, or you're not engaging or wishing for a positive experience, then you have to kind of go, what's affecting me? What's affecting me? Because I've met people that have come at me really combative, and then after about 25 minutes they soften and they're like, oh, that wasn't necessary at all, was it? Well, no, it wasn't, but I can't tell you it wasn't necessary, because you're here. You have to go through whatever safety mechanisms you have in place to meet new people. You know, it just, if you start to impede your ability to meet new people and find positives and see options as positives, pay attention. You know, it's kind of like we carry a Mad Libs around in our head. And sometimes we fill in them with wrong words. This meeting is going to be horrible. Well, you're not having a very good day, are you? I hope in my future to meet a woman that is. And most men will be like, easy, And when we start to carry around our Mad Libs that we form to engage with new things, we need to be very careful about the expectation we place in that little blank, because it will affect how we interact. And so, and I just saw a lot of people that, go straight to defense mode. They don't go to questioning mode. They don't go to, wait, let me watch that 5 more times and pay attention to 5 different things. Let me challenge. This is a person I believe in. They made this statement that kind of, I don't know where I stand on it. Let me listen to it 50 times and let me create like a line of questioning as if I was going to get to interrogate them. And write down all your questions. And then try to write down your questions and look into the statement they did today, previous behavior. See if you can find a pattern, a consistency to them. Is it one that you're okay with, or is it one that you question? Then you move forward. If it's one that you question, you start paying attention and seeing if that person is going to be somebody that you do like, that you do want to spend your time on, that you do want to support or not. And you have to question everything. You can't just make a snap decision. Life is not a snap decision. There are certain things that are great, and impulse helps sometimes not overthink. But for the most part, you have to really pay attention to how you go at the world. And that's why I'm telling you, when I saw the behaviors and the words and the emphasis on certain things, it made me have a deer in the headlights moment going, something is not right. It's more important that people fall to this emotion and believe him than people just question and go and do research. Because if he was right and his complete issue with Upchurch had been something that if he had triggered people to think and go research, they would have come to that conclusion on their own, and then he would have been happy with all the people that he had triggered to just go and question things. He'd been like, okay, well, I'll see you and swing into your back because you're going to figure it out. But he's not satisfied with that. He wants immediate control. He wants immediate, he just immediately wants you to bow before him and agree and support him. He doesn't want to be questioned. He doesn't want to answer questions. He doesn't want to be held accountable. He just wants you in the wagon behind him screaming on his team. I don't want anybody just on my team. I want people on my team that feel safe there. They feel respected there. They've done their homework. They feel that I'm somebody that is going to be someone that they want to gravitate toward and spend time with, and that there's going to be mutual respect. And that we can talk about things and we can hash out things that other people can't hash out, because I like to have a lot of talks. Sometimes I miss things and I want to have smart people in my wagon to turn around and go, I missed it. What happened? What did you get? Because we need help sometimes. We don't see everything. As smart as I am and as much as my police training comes in, to fruition most times, and I can understand what's going on, and as much as I process body language and nonverbal communication very easily, there are some times that I just have a vapid moment and it goes right over my head. And it's nice to have people in my corner that I can go, I missed that. What did you get it from that? Tell me what you got. Okay, now tell me what you got. Well, tell me what you got. How come I missed all of that? Well, let's go watch it again. And so it's nice to have people that we can go, had a brain fart, I need help. And know that they're going to give us help instead of just trying to rope us into an emotion, a feeling, or a path. So I like to talk. I like to hash things out. That's why I was a counselor for a long, long time. But, I don't have to be professional or polite or worry about ethical concerns when I'm on here. I get to say my piece. And my piece and frustration with what happened this week between these two parties is that it was not necessary. A lot of it was created just for a drama dynamic and to put people in an emotional state and cause them to make a immediate decision as to who to support, and it was meant to divide. It was meant to divide and cause ill will. And I was like, why? Why was that necessary? I mean, if you really have these people on violation of a contract, why is it necessary to then create all that extra animosity? Just go and have a judge look at the contract and say, yeah, violation, or no violation. No breach of contract. Or, yeah, he breached the contract. This needs to be taken care of. It's that easy. So knowing that they were putting that much emphasis and that much work at creating an emotional response and creating a division told me that there was something else besides breach of contract going on, and it was highly likely there wasn't a breach of contract because it could have been resolved in 2.5 seconds had there been one. Now, I would love to see the contract. And I think since he's kind of gone to the court of public opinion, we should be able to see the contract. But he won't show us the contract. And then people go, well, won't Church show us the contract? Well, Church is not Stone Baby Sounds, so if he didn't sign the contract, he wouldn't have a copy. And Stone Baby Sounds may be under contract to not share the contract unless it's in a court of law. So the only person that probably could be honest in this event would be Dan. He would be the only one that would have the freedom to show us that if he wanted to. So, yeah, I mean, that's it. I want to know if there is a breach of contract, and it's as easy as putting it up there. Do I know if there's a breach of contract? No. But I know it's very important for him to create an emotional dialogue. Most of the time when people create an emotional dialogue, it's because the real issue they have probably has not as much substance. So they're trying to create an emotional dialogue, basically to piggyback that emotion and energy into what's lacking. So I would really like to know. I'd really like to know what exactly went down and what's going on. Because at this moment, we know that they did not steal the beats, that they purchased the beats, and they can augment them if they want to, but they do buy beats from up-and-coming artists that sell their beats. I think that's great. So we know that Stone Baby buys the beats. That's great. So did Dan say he liked the beats or pick a beats? I mean, did he say, yeah, that's the one I like or not? Who knows? But he made sure to tell us that they were stealing beats. And I'm like, okay, well, we know that that's not true. We know that Stone Baby practices buying beats. Upchurch has gone through Stone Baby many times to produce, and Stone Baby has bought beats for him. So we know that there's a history of purchasing these beats. So, okay, that answers that question. So the bill, he says, was $41.95. Stone Baby says only half of it's been paid. So there could be multiple breaches of contract financially and otherwise. Don't know. That would be one that probably will have to go to court to be settled, because I don't think either one of them are going to show that. Stating that Ryan was supposed to write his songs. He signed a contract with Stone Baby Sounds for a production team. A production team does not write songs. They balance, layer, put together, and prepare the track for radio listening and dispersal. It's up to the artist to write the songs or have a general idea of a melody that they're wanting. Because as far as I know, Stone Baby will purchase beats, but everything else is kind of up to the artist. So if you want guitar, you want a breakdown on a fiddle, you better be hiring these people to bring them into the studio. So I would like to know the ifs, ands, and buts on all of that. That would be interesting to know. But there's so much stuff that Dan was very upset about that now has been kind of answered, and it's been like a non-issue. But to him, it was a huge issue. He said Upchurch's mom attacked him and stood up for her son. I think Patty probably had an opinion because she's worked with Stone Baby Sounds, and I don't think her having an opinion is bad. And at the end of the day, Brian does not tell his mother what she can or cannot do, so whoever she wants to make a statement toward, as long as she says it in a legal way, that's fine. So, that's just stupid. I thought the whole thing of getting him into a cage was absolutely asinine. You do not resolve things with physical violence. You might tire yourself out, might give your give your body a minute to breathe and think, but you're not going to resolve a contract issue in an octagon. It's not going to happen. If anything, it's going to go the other way, because you're going to get your cackles up and get the endorphins flowing, get your adrenaline up, which is not going to end well. So that to me seemed counterproductive. If he really wanted a resolution, that was not the way to go to a resolution. So that told me he probably did not want a resolution as much as he wanted contact, and probably inappropriate contact. Which then made me question, is he inappropriately contacting Stone Baby Sounds, and have they had to retract contact? So, these are my thinking points. This is how I'm processing all of this. And I've heard a lot of people use a lot of these same arguments in court, and it turns out being their cover story to justify, what they really were doing, So, I don't know, there's just a lot of questions there. Well, yeah, I mean, can you not expect a mother bear to not want to stand up for her child? No, I'm weird. I raised my children. I was a parole officer. I dealt with danger. I had to prepare my children to deal with danger. Both my kids were proficient marksmen by the age of 11. Both of my kids hunt. Both of my kids can field dress anything that they kill. And, so I raised my kids in a very different way. And my son had a bit of a beef with his wife's stepfather-in-law. And the grown man was like, well, let's just go outside and let's just fight right now. Just go outside, let's just have it out right now. And my son was like, you do know that that's not a resolution. That's called a physical altercation. And if you were to go to court after that, the judge would say, well, why did you choose to have a physical altercation if you really wanted a resolution? He said, so you're showing me that you don't want to resolve this issue. You would rather just make it worse. So I'm going to leave, and we're not going to do this ever again. And the man got mad that my son left. He didn't engage. And so after everything calmed down, my son was at a little community store getting a sandwich, and the guy came in, and he's like, why didn't you fight me the other night? And he's like, I'm not going to fight you anywhere. He's like, that is not going to resolve anything. It's not going to make our relationship better. It's not going to make my wife feel better. It's not going to make your family feel better. He said, why do you want to do something that's going to hurt people you love even more? Why are you not gravitating toward a resolution, to a way to talk this out? Why would you want to cause more problems? He said, because if we do this, somebody's going to jail. There's going to be charges. There's going to be jail time. There's going to be probation for somebody. It's not going to end well. It's going to cause more issues for the family, more drama, and potentially hurt somebody. We have a lot of elders. We don't want anybody to have a freaking heart attack. Why are you so stuck on this physical violence? Why can you not talk something through? And the guy was just really, and my son was like, listen. He's like, this may be the way you've controlled people in the past. He said, but it does not work on me. He said, I know that when you're trying to antagonize me to respond physically, it's because you don't feel that you can respond to me verbally, because you don't have the skills. You need to go home and work on your skills, because I'm not going to get into a physical altercation. When you build up your skills where you're comfortable having a dialogue, let me know. If I need to hire a mediator and the whole entire family go to a mediation so that we can discuss this, I will pay for it. But I'm not going to stoop to your level and create more drama. I married your stepdaughter. She is the love of my life. I do not want to cause her harm or anyone else in this family harm, and I'm trying to resolve it in the best way possible. But I do not care to let them know that you are not thinking about everyone else, that you're just stuck on physical violence. And if they need to be aware that this is potentially a red flag that I'm concerned about, he's like, then I'll let them know. He said, but you do know you're just simply hurting more people. And so that was, it's several months now. And the guy was like, well, you're not welcome anywhere near me. And Lane was like, I don't want to be anywhere near you, but the only place you can restrict me from is property that you own. You can't tell me not to go to community stores. You can't tell me not to go to public places. You can't tell me not to go to the park. You can. And Lane's like, I just want you to be within the appropriate restrictions when you try to tell me where I can't be. So I can't be on property you own. And that kind of frustrated him. And my son was like, I'll just make this easy. I'll not be on any property you own until we have a resolution. resolution. And he said possibly even that, after that, if I don't feel the resolution is a very good one. Because I don't want to be in this type of scenario. And he was like, so until this is resolved, I will not be on your property. Me nor my wife will be on your property. You will not have to worry about us encroaching upon you and making you feel unsafe. We just won't have anything to do with you, so that you won't have any reason to think that you need to plan a physical altercation. And so for several months now, there's been no contact. Her family's absolutely behooved that she would have no contact. And the grandmother sought out my son and was like, why would you do that? And he was like, I didn't do that. You do understand that the grown man who is twice my age wanted to have a brawl to determine who won. And all I said was, I'm not doing that. That is beneath me, and that is more difficult and more crap for the entire family to have to process. It's going to help no one. Rather than having inappropriate contact, I choose to have no contact. And I'm okay with having no contact if that's the way to keep the family safe and no physical altercations. And the grandmother's like, he what? And like, you know, my son's like, he threatened to beat the crap out of me if he could find me anywhere. And he's like, I'm not playing that game. And so they're just amazed that he would hold to it. And he's like, the only other option is having physical violence over something I don't believe in that could hurt the people I love. How would you even think I have a choice? Of course I'm going to say no contact over inappropriate contact. And so my 23, almost 24-year-old son is smarter than 56-year-old adults. And it's because I raised him looking at people that made snap decisions and went to court and ruined their life and got 10 years in court. You subscribe, you like us. Honey, if you get something useful here, you're welcome here anytime you want to be here. And lots of times the people that sub to me bring me news, information, stretch my mind, ask me to look at certain things. I learn a lot from you guys. So I'm happy to have anybody that wants to spend their time here, because time you can never get back. And if you choose to give me your time, it's precious and I appreciate it. But, you know, I raised a very responsible young man that I know will not take any kind of unnecessary physical action unless he's pushed to a place where he has to defend himself. I was very proud of my son's behavior. And when the grandmother said, how did you know to make these decisions? He was like, I watched my mother send people to prison. I watched people make stupid decisions and go to prison. He said, I would hope that the one thing I learned from my mother crying over people that had 20-year sentences, that if they'd made one, you know, if they just made one better decision at that moment in time, they would not be losing their life and hurting their family and separating a father from their kids. And he said, I watched my mother beg these people to reform, to try better, to think that they're worth the effort. And he said, the one thing I know is that physical violence never does anything unless it's to stop somebody from killing you. And if you can't talk it out, walk away until you can. And he said, I love my wife. I would never do anything to harm her. He said, but I'm also not going to let anybody else instigate anything to harm her. He said, which means she is my priority number one, and I take care of her. And this whole time, I've never said anything to this entire family. So the grandmother finally asked me, did you tell him to do that? Nope, didn't know they were having problems. You didn't know they were having problems? Nope. Thought everything was fine. When he visits, and we don't talk about other people's business. Well, my goodness, I thought surely he had talked to you and you had guided him through that. Nope. I raised a young man, and when he took a fancy to this young woman, I said, treat her like she's golden, treat her like she's priceless. If I ever hear of you harming her, you will have to contend with your mother. We don't want to have to do that. Oh, I used to live in Smith County. I used to live on Rawls Creek. So yeah, that was my first marriage. That was a 6-year brain fart. If you want to hear about me being stupid, my entire first marriage, there's a video down about my past. That was like where I learned everything. I was so stupid in that first marriage. I had to literally learn everything because I was not about to go through that again. So changed my entire world because I was honest enough to go, man, you stupid. You stupid. You picked a stupid one. You stupid. So I had to absolutely. Yeah, Rawls Creek is right there where, you know, the Green Bridge, those little green bridges are. Crap. See, it's been long enough that I've slept since then. The Higginbothams used to have a cattle farm down there. Now there's a Pasadena farm down there. Um, it's like you can see Flat Rock from Rawls Creek. Does that make sense? So from my front porch, you can see Flat Rock and then the little nuclear place. Yeah, I lived down there for a long time, about 7 years. Well, if you're leaving Carthage and driving toward Wilson County, you'll come to those green bridges over the smaller ones, not the main one that goes into Carthage, but if you're heading out of Smith County going to Wilson County and you hit that first bridge, there's two places you can go in, two ways. You can hit the first bridge and then take a right and go in, or you can hit the second bridge and take a right and then turn right and go back on into the holler. Oh gosh, there used to be like a Keystone right at the county line that I used to go and get pizza from when I absolutely just needed a break from cooking. And they had the best pizza at that little gas station. But it's right almost on the Smith-Wilson County line. I was like, once I hit the main road, I was literally like 5 minutes from the county line. So, yeah. I'm like, my ex-father-in-law still owns the farm back on the road. They just rent it out to other people. So, we used to go deer hunting and stuff a lot down there a lot too when the kids were little. The kids are grown now, and sadly their biological father just was not anyone that would maintain a normal, like as soon as he found out I was remarried, he was like, will he adopt? Can I get rid of him? And I was like, he's sorry. He's sorry. But my husband, we've been married 3 months. My husband adopted him. That was 20 years ago. My husband raised my children. They have his last name. The birth certificates reflect as if they're after he is. And my ex-husband is now on his third wife and still struggling. So, you know, I had to make some big changes in my life and my world because I did not want to be that person. I did not want to keep having those issues. No, I'm actually from farther east. I'm from the Cumberland Plateau area. We met at I did extemporaneous speaking. Imagine that, as much as I talk. I did extemporaneous speaking in high school, and we met at an engagement where we had like a 5-day meet where there was a bunch of skills being tested, and I did extemporaneous speaking and something else. We met there, rode each other for a year or so. Then when we got to be seniors in high school, he would come visit. My parents would let him come visit, spend the day, go to church, and go home. And then when I moved to start college, I moved to Cookeville to go to Tennessee Tech. I was finally able to go down to Carthage and meet his family, got along fine with him. We were great. My dad was a pastor, a minister. I was raised in the straight and narrow. So we married very young and had 2 kids. My kids are 1 year, 1 month, 1 day apart. Don't recommend that. The diaper bill alone will kill you. But, you know, we started a family. We were married for almost 6, 7 years. And when I turned into a mother, he did not turn into a father. There was no transition with his behavior. And I became very boring to him when I became a mother because I was not out hunting, fishing, riding broncs, stealing cattle. I was a mom. And so I guess I was not as pretty or desirable to him at that point. Yeah, I wasn't desirable anymore. You know? And his work hired a temp agency secretary. He met her, and 3 days later left me with 2 toddlers. And then like 2 months later wanted to know if he could potentially come back. And I said, I won't own a dog that'll run trash. It makes you think I'm going to have a man that will. So we got divorced. And the homewrecker, he wouldn't pay the half of the doctor bills, the half of the additional, you know, like when they had to have dental work done, the 50% of the additional that was left over after insurance. He would not pay the gas money to the doctor visits that were in Goodlettsville from East Tennessee. When he moved farther away from the kids, and then wanted to have the judge lower his child support, which he never paid, so that he would have gas money. And the judge was like, but you chose to move away. So it was a moot point. The only one check he ever wrote for child support bounced. And I was like, really? So basically, I got left on my own with toddlers. But he and the first day he could legally, he married that secretary he ran off with. He brought her that night. The only time he had picked the kids up in like 9 months, he brought her that night to pick them up. And I was irritated, but whatever. I don't agree with the way y'all met, but at least y'all followed through and got married. Now I expect y'all to parent. And she was like, oh, good, but in the next time it's our weekend, we have a trip planned. Can we move that? And I was like, oh, shit. And I was like, no, you get them on your weekend or you don't get them, because they need consistency. And she was mad at me, and she kind of was like, you don't understand. I have to work. And I was like, I work. I work as a medical transcriptionist. I clean timeshares. I go to school full time, and I raise 2 kids, and I'm barely able to pay my daycare to be able to keep them in daycare because he won't pay child support, and I'm getting tired of doing everything. And she was like, you get your child support and nothing else. And I was like, I don't even get my child support. I don't know why you're screaming at me. And I was like, but he owes me 50% of all the extracurriculars, all the bills that I get, additional on top of insurance. No, you have to figure that out in the child support. You only get your child support. And I said, honey, you do know that I have kids number 1 and 2, and then if you all have children, they'll be 3, 4, 5, and on. And if something were to happen to him and he owed my kids $100,000 in back child support, and he died and had $101,000 to his name, my kids would get the $100,000, and then your child would get $1,000 because my kids are number 1 and 2. What? I said, that's the way it's divvied out. I said, you're going to be a homewrecker. You need to read the fine print. What? I said, I know you're having like an epiphany right now, but can you have it later? I'm trying to talk to him. And it was maybe 6 or 7 days later, he started just erratically calling my house. And finally, my husband was home one day, and I'd come home, and there'd be like 5 calls, and I'd be like, well, dude, I worked all day. Sorry, I don't want to tell you. And my husband was finally home to answer the phone, and he was like, I need to talk to Elizabeth. And my husband was like, well, she's at work. She's always at work. You'll have to wait. He finally got hold of us, and he was like, well, I need you to sign a piece of paper that says I can pay you what I owe you when I can. And I was like, no, because you wouldn't let me access the kids' insurance to change their primary providers, and I couldn't make appointments because the insurance said you were the person that had to make those decisions, and I couldn't even make an appointment. So I couldn't access the kids' health care. And when my son had oral surgery, I said there was an abscess. We had to rush him to the emergency room. He had to have emergency surgery. And when I explained to the people at the hospital that you were not paying your child support and that I could not activate their insurance because the insurance, you would not approve me to make changes or to schedule things with the health insurance, I said that the state said, we're going to pick it up, cover this, because basically he has abandoned them. And I was like, okay, yeah, that's basically what he did. And I said, so they gave me child care, and they said I could enter into a contract where they would pay for my child care so that the kids would maintain their daycare while I was in school and working, but I had to give up my child support to the state. And I said, well, I don't ever get it. And they're like, well, that's okay. We'll assume that and go after him for it. And I was like, so I don't have to deal with him? And they're like, no. And I said, well, he won't pay it. And they said, we'll leave that up to us. You know, if he doesn't pay it, we'll put out a child support attachment and put him in jail. And I was like, if I don't have to deal with him, that's great. And they're like, nope. And the kids will have health insurance. And I was like, thank you, because this has been, it was hell. And he was like, yeah, you need to sign that I can pay you back whatever I owe you. And I was like, you don't owe it to me, you owe it to the state. What? Why? Well, because I couldn't access their health insurance, and I couldn't get him treatment, so I had to go to the emergency room. They had to do emergency surgery. Luckily, there was a worker at the hospital that did all the paperwork and told me basically you had abandoned them and that they would pick them up on Medicaid while all this was going on. And I said, it really saved my butt. And then when I had to go back for the meeting with the worker, she told me that basically you had abandoned them, and they would assume your debt and to go after you for child support, and they would basically pay the kids' daycare and keep them covered with health insurance while I was in school. And I said, I accepted the trade because I haven't got a penny from you. It just seemed like the dirt thing to do, you know. And he said, so you can't tell them not to arrest me? I said, no. Don't think I could ever tell them not to arrest you, but I definitely can't now. I can't believe you would do this to me. Well, you leave your wife alone to pursue a lover, and she's got 2 toddlers to take care of. You know, shit goes down. So, he somehow came up with the money very quickly to keep himself out of prison. Imagine that. But he immediately wanted my husband to then adopt to get him away from the debt, because he did not want to assume any more debt from child support that was going to be owed. And so he had to write the state and request that they approve the adoption. And he said, I request to be a co-petitioner to request the adoption of these 2 children by this man because I am financially unfit to take care of them. And the state came at me and said, he's requested to terminate his rights and allow your husband to adopt. What do you think? And I was like, I mean, he's useless as tits on a boar hog, so that's fine. Yeah, I wouldn't mind to get rid of him. He's just a problem. And the kids haven't seen him in 10 months, you know. And they said, well, the only thing is you will have to pay for the adoption. So I paid for the adoption. But my husband raised the kids, so he adopted them after 3 months of marriage. Kind of a brave man. Of course, that was 20 years ago now. But he raised the kids, and my kids both have his last name. Their birth certificates reflect that they are his, and they call him Dad. And I made sure that all the mistakes that landed me in that relationship I did not repeat. Learned a lot in that relationship. So, yeah. You learn a lot about yourself when you're left to raise 2 kids on your own. I don't know, like, here's the funny thing, is he went on in his second marriage. He married the woman that, you know, he had the affair with me. He married her. Like 7 or 8 years later, they had a kid. Well, then a few years after he had that kid, he had another affair and left the second wife for the new lady that he had the affair. Well, then the lady that he had the affair with wanted to move a little bit further south for work. And because his second wife had no support system, she wanted to move back north to be closer to friends. So he signed the agreement to allow his second wife to move back up north to be closer to a support system because she had no friends down south. And that meant that he would only get to see his third child 2 weeks out of the year instead of every other weekend. So he basically gave that kid up too. He did at least financially support them for a while. But he limited his interactions with that kid to a minimal component, which blew my mind. Like, how could you do it? And you've already made one huge mistake. How could you do it again? You know? And so then, you know, and he basically turned that one loose and is not really taking care of that one other than financially. He does not interact. He's not really a big role in her life. So then he married the third affair. Now that's the third wife. They moved to another state. She has 2 kids from a previous marriage, and apparently that guy's not very nice guy either. So now they've been married about a year. He just adopted her children. And I'm like, I think more about getting a puppy from a Walmart parking lot than he does about children. It's like, how do you do that? Like, how do you do that? How do you have 3 biological children that you basically have no desire to interact with, but you adopt 2 more because they came with the package that you decided to have an affair with? It's like, oh my God, how do you do that? You know, but you know, that's his problem. You're swimming in testosterone. You and the dog are the only females in the family. Here's the funny about me. So I had to have a hysterectomy at age 30. I had horrible endometriosis, and I also had this RSD starting, and that was part of it that they didn't understand because it took them so long to diagnose it. But now looking back, part of it was the RSD. And I had to have a hysterectomy at age 30. They told me if I wanted to put my endometriosis in, you know what I'm talking about, remission, that I could have another kid and it would hold it off for 3 or 4 years and give me another 3 or 4 years, you know, and then we would have to make a decision. Well, by the time we got around to thinking about reversing my tubal, which I had with my first marriage, I had 2 kids and I was done at that point. I was like, no, I was fertile myrtle. By the time we got around to seeking to redo the tubal, it had gotten so bad that we had to go in emergency surgery and have it all removed. They tried me on estrogen for 2 weeks, and I went to the doctor after my checkup on my surgery, and I was like, shh, take this crap away from me. I cannot take it. I was like, cannot take it. I cannot process it. It does not help. It just makes me cry. This is not who I am. Stop it. Now, I've always had like 3 times the testosterone a woman's supposed to have because I did man jobs, working on a farm, all that. Weight lifted, power lifted, all that stuff. So, estrogen is not my friend. So, I went back to the doctor, and he's like, well, let's just stop it and see how we do. So, I stopped it. He's like, come back and see me in 2 weeks or a week if things go bad. So I came back in 2 weeks. So it was 4 weeks post-op at this point, and it was fine at that point. And he's like, "You're calm." I was like, "I'm fine. Don't have any problems. All the incisions are healed. I'm good. I'm, still sore if I try to overdo too much or pick something up, but I'm doing fine." And he's like, "Well, I guess you're good to go then." He's like, "Do we want to give you more estrogen?" And I said, "No, no, 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 no." And he goes, "Well, do you have any other questions for me?" And I said, "Yeah." And he's like, "Okay, what is it?" And I was like, "Can I go fishing?" "Yeah, if you think you can tolerate it, you can go fishing." "Okay, good, I'm going fishing." And I never took another estrogen pill in my whole life. And so I do not take estrogen. Have no estrogen in my body. Have nothing that creates estrogen, because a year later I had to go back and they took my ovaries. So I have no helpful estrogen or estrogen of any kind in my body. And I'm a much calmer person now. But my testosterone is still really high. But it's where it's always been my entire life. So I just always thought that was funny. So if I touch weights, if I try to, like if they try to send me to physical therapy and they use weights on my upper body, I will just go boom, boom, and build muscles. And so we try to keep me away from weights because I just swell up like Arnold. So yeah. So yeah, I've not had estrogen in my body for 13, 14 years. And I've done great without it, let me tell you. That stuff will screw you up. So, odd story for the night. I know that's strange, but gosh, we've talked about everything. We gained a family member. We've had good conversation, good communication. I think we all learned that sometimes first impressions are not reliable, and I think it's always fun when I learn that because it normally means I made a new friend. So we've got a lot to learn. We're going to watch this situation as it unfolds and see exactly what's going on, and you all know that whatever I find out, whether it goes along with what I hoped was the truth or whether it blows my version of what I hope to be the truth out of the water, I will be back and I'll tell you what I find. And we'll talk about it. But I will have to say that the troll level that I witnessed from Upchurch this evening was epic. Isn't it amazing how people can just walk away from... I don't understand. Like that little Yorkie that I had this spring, that I had to rehome when I started having all the mastoid issues and the vertigo issues and stuff like that. My health really kind of dumped there for a while. The woman that we rehomed him to, I talk to every day. She sends me pictures. I got a Christmas card. We send videos back and forth. So, and sometimes she'll like call me and FaceTime me so I can see my dog that I had when he was a puppy. And I'm invested for however long this dog lives. This is what I'm going to do. I gained additional family. This woman's great, and I miss my little doggy, but with my health, it was the right thing for me to do. And so I keep up with the dog that I had to rehome. And to me, it blows my mind that people do not dedicate themselves fully to their children. It just boggles my mind. So... And of course, my son is almost 24 now. He just got married. He was been married a year in November. I have the most beautiful, precious little daughter-in-law. She's just beautiful. And he has he's an arborist. He has a tree surgeon business. So he puts spikes on his leg and climbs trees and takes them apart if they're diseased or something's wrong. So he has his own business there. And he also does chainsaw art. Very old school. We are an old school Appalachia family. Yeah, it's difficult to always be the responsible one. It really is. Sometimes it really does kind of wear you thin a little bit. But I'm glad that I was able to have such a structured environment for my kids after all that they went through, because I was able to really structure their life to overcome all the concerns that created. So it worked out. It worked out really well. Alright, I've sat here about as long as I can. My legs are killing me. They're starting to swell. I hate this disorder. I'm going to have to go over to the couch and do my physical therapy exercises to get my legs to stop. Then my tendons are starting to pull and cramp, and it's really starting to hurt. So I'm going to go over there and do that and get ready for bed. And mamas are tough on you because they love you. Mamas are tough on you because they love you. If they're tough on you, it's because they see something within you that is worthwhile. And the tougher the mama is, the more they see for you. You know, the more they see that you're able to do in the future. But it's difficult. And it's difficult for the mamas too. So like teenage years, like my daughter, you know, she's in veterinary school. She's fixing to graduate in May. And from 13 to 16, it was like, you know, it's like somehow somebody had stolen my child and put Satan in her bedroom one night. And that's who I had to deal with. And now we're good. But it was, you know, it was rough there for a while. And kids go through that. It's difficult being a teenager. It's difficult being the parent of a teenager. And you just have to navigate it and hope that y'all have the right love for each other, that it gets you through it. But it's tough. It's tough for everybody. Growing up is messy. So we've had a really good talk, and I appreciate everybody that spent the time with me. And if I get anything else, I'll probably do a little video and slap it up. Y'all know I don't like to be super serious all the time. Sometimes I just like to laugh and poke fun. And that's kind of where I was earlier. It's where I've been for the last couple of days because I've had to be so serious about other things. But if possible, I'm going to try to go check traps with my husband here in a day or two, just to get out of the house, get some sunshine. And he's only got a few days left in the trapping season, so we're going to try to see what we can muster up. And next week I will be putting new items on the Etsy store for him. His Etsy store is Hillbilly Heart Decor. So if you just want to know what he's got up, I've got to renew a bunch of stuff, but I'm going to be loading it with a few more things next week. So everybody have a good night. Look at things. Try to find 4 different perspectives before you start, you know, making a decision about things. And be leery of everybody. Question everything. Research. Do it. Do your research. Do it for you. Don't believe anybody, including me. And we'll try to do this again Monday. I'm going to try to spend tomorrow with my husband because it's the only day he has off. But if I see something that I need to tell you, I'll pop on and say it. I think there's more inherent goodness than we give credit for. It's just that the bad stuff's easier to believe. And that's psychologically a crutch that the human brain has. But that's another discussion for another day. But there are good people out there. And sometimes it just takes conversation and pleading your case and trying to understand somebody and caring enough to understand, and caring enough to try to understand more than you care to not understand. So we saw that happen here tonight. So our family has grown. I'm very thankful. So I will see you all probably tomorrow. I'll check in, but we'll do another live Monday, and I'll try to toss up some content of something for you tomorrow. So love yous all. I'm going to bed. Mama Liz out. Night, John Boy.